So, first things first, the one thing I would say with the WrestleMania predictions is that I don't know if I want to do two separate videos, one for WrestleMania Night 1, one for WrestleMania Night 2, or if I want to just put all of them in one video. I will let you guys know what I decide and take it from there, as I may do the WrestleMania predictions today and then maybe do one more video as we get closer, which would be the preview video for WrestleMania itself, which probably would not be until April, but that's why I'm not sure when I want to do it or how many videos I want to get out of it. So we will see what happens on that front. But with that being said, let's get into the news today, as there really isn't a lot of news to get to, but there is always some in the news cycle. Starting with the ending to Lashley versus Lesnar, it left some people deflated, some people questioning what happens next, as the match between Lashley and Lesnar ended in disqualification at Elimination Chamber. And it has led to some people wondering what happens next, because most of us expected a solid ending. But with the challenge from Bray Wyatt on SmackDown on the go-home show before Elimination Chamber, it has led some to wonder. It has led some to wonder that if the rivalry does end, that being between Lashley and Lesnar, and it's not going to end at WrestleMania, which right now a rematch between Lashley and Lesnar is not penciled in for WrestleMania. If it's not going to end at WrestleMania, when does that rivalry end? I think that's something that all of us would like to know. Because, based on the challenge from Bray Wyatt on the SmackDown before Elimination Chamber, that has led to the match being announced, or likely being announced. I don't think it has actually been announced yet. But that means that they're likely going Bray Wyatt versus Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. And maybe the WrestleMania match will be when we see the return of the Hurt Business, because it would be fitting to protect Bray Wyatt and also Bobby Lashley in that match, but it would also open up the idea for some people to think that Bray versus Bobby would be something more than just a one-shot deal. And it's like, in my opinion, it should just be a one-shot deal, because if there's also a possibility that you could be breaking up the titles again, it would give Lashley an opportunity to have more of an opportunity to be able to challenge for the WWE Championship, which, in my opinion, the only reason why he is not challenging for the world title is because there is only one world title. But I do think that it was a questionable choice to have Lashley win in the way that he did, but also did it start at Crown Jewel? No, it continued at Crown Jewel. It started at Royal Rumble last year. Yeah, it started at the Royal Rumble last year. It was a questionable decision, but Crown Jewel could also be where they ended, as Crown Jewel was where it picked up last year and was the last match that they had in the series before this past match at Elimination Chamber. So it is pretty obvious that the feud is not ending, but it should be ending soon. Maybe at Crown Jewel is what I'm saying, that maybe they'll actually have the match end at Crown Jewel in May, and that's why they didn't want to have it at WrestleMania. They want to save it for Crown Jewel in May. But now on to the next set of news, and that is the Authors of Pain are still rumored to be coming back to WWE very soon, and Paul Ellering is actually acting as the agent to the Authors of Pain, sort of like he was with the Road Warriors back in the day. So that is good for Akam and Razor, as Paul Ellering knows what he's doing, as he did it for Animal and Hawk for so many years, putting together their contracts and, basically negotiating their contracts for him. I don't know if this means that Paul will come back. The one thing I would say to that front is that Triple H was the one who put Paul Ellering with the AOP down in NXT. So bringing him back and putting them together again on the main roster not only would be something that we should have seen back when AOP was here the first time, but also it is something that I would be glad to see the second time around. Because it would be undoing the mistake that they made. It would be undoing the mistake that they made all that, back when they made the mistake the first time of not putting those guys together. So we're going to keep an eye on AOP possibly coming back to the WWE. Oney Lorcan, former NXT Tag Team Champion with Danny Burch, has officially stepped away from the ring and became an agent for NXT. He worked one of the women's matches on Vengeance Day and is now a member of the NXT roster as an agent, which props to him for being able to retire and, props to him for deciding to retire and step aside in the decision, because the decision is not necessarily the easiest one to do. But good for WWE bringing back somebody with the experience of Oney Lorcan, rather, and giving him a spot as an agent down in NXT. Good for him. According to PW Insider, AEW trademarked maybe a new show. We're not really sure what it is, but it could be a new pay-per-view. It could be pretty much anything. To be honest with you, we're not really sure at this point. But AEW Collision is something that I'm sure we're gonna have to watch and keep an eye on as to what AEW is gonna be using that name for. But they recently trademarked it at the USPTO, according to PW Insider, so it's going to be interesting to see what plans they have for AEW Collision. Also, Kenta took to Twitter and referenced the fact that CM Punk was at Battle in the Valley, saying that his biggest fan was at Battle in the Valley over the weekend. I would love the opportunity to see Kenta and Punk finally get in the ring together, as Kenta has made it pretty clear his, I don't want to say distaste for Punk, but it's not the first time he's thrown barbs at the fellow user of the GTS. And it would be interesting to see these two ever get in the ring against one another, as the common consensus around news cycle individuals is that Punk seems to still have the wrestling bug. So maybe we could see Punk jump back in the wrestling ring sooner rather than later. Yuji Nagata, 54-year-old Yuji Nagata, is the All Japan Pro Wrestling Triple Crown champion, winning the World Championship at a recent All Japan event, and is one of the many that are still under contract with New Japan. One of the many legends in that area that are still under contract with New Japan as a legacy within the ranks of New Japan. He is a legacy within the ranks of New Japan, but props to Yuji Nagata for keeping his career together and being not just a legend, but somebody that can sell tickets everywhere and anywhere, pretty much. But also, Kazuchika Okada and Hiroshi Tanahashi will team up against IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi at the 51st anniversary show on March the 16th. Also, the first round for the New Japan Cup will happen at the 51st anniversary show with Tomohiro Ishii versus David Finlay, Shota Umino and Yujiro Takahashi being two of the first round matches, Hiromi Takahashi and Bushi against Lio Rush and Yo, Tatsuya Naito, Shingo Takagi, and Sanada against Jeff Cobb, Great Khan, and Aaron Henar, Minoru Suzuki and El Desperado against Ren Narita against Evil, Sho and Yo, Tamatanga, Toru Yano, and Satoshi Kojima against Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis, which I believe that is Aussie Open. Kosei Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. against Kenta and El Phantasmo. It is a spectacular it is a spectacular event planned on March the 6th for the 51st anniversary show. And also, according to reports specifically from Fightful, the reports that Triple H is disappointed in the stars that have been re-signed is completely false, as members of Creative even went on record saying that nobody that was brought back was designed to be moved up the card right away. So to say that there was disappointment, there wasn't. It was more that Triple H realized the lack of depth within WWE and wanted to fix that. And that's what he did. So to say that there aren't plans for somebody like Bronson Reed or Johnny Gargano or Karrion Kross to eventually be in the main event, that would probably be false. But to say that there are no plans, that they're disappointed by how those guys have performed thus far, that would be completely false. And also, just to throw it out there are no plans to feature Sami Zayn in the main event of WrestleMania 39. Dave Meltzer does go on record to say that plans could change, but right now there are no plans to feature Sami in the main event, which I completely agree with. But also, if things go the way they did in Montreal, it would be hard not to consider the idea of Sami being added to the main event. But right now, this is the only news video planned for today, but things could change, and if they do, I will see you guys again. If not, I will see you then soon.